Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what day trading opportunities we may have. You're going to see my analysis and my strategy, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, starting off on the daily chart, as usual EU is at the top, DXY is at the bottom. Now what can we see on the daily chart? Well, yesterday we closed out on EU as a bullish doji. You can see we swept some buy side liquidity above the previous weekly high here, which caused us to pull back and close out as a doji just above the open. Same with DXY, we reached down, took the previous weekly low, which made us pull back and close out as a bearish doji. Now our previous daily high, previous daily low on both are still intact, but we can see so far today we've had a bullish day and a bearish day obviously on DXY. And it seems like at some point we're going to take the buy side liquidity above this previous daily high and possibly also the previous daily low on DXY. Price looks like it's intending on reaching lower now into this daily order block, into the discount of this bullish run here on DXY. Now onto the 4 hour, what do we see? As I had mentioned in my previous video, I don't think we've been moving great since we pulled back from this bullish leg. We are still within this bullish leg. We consolidated on the higher time frame, going from one side to the other, sweeping buy side and sell side liquidity. Now at the moment, after sweeping this previous weekly high properly yesterday, we only had a temporary bearish pullback, and now we are beginning to be quite bullish again, looking like we're going to create a new internal higher high and possibly head for this weak high here, which I pointed out in some of my past videos. On DXY, of course, it also looked like, initially we was going to continue bullish from this consolidation. We had our high, low, high, 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 low, high, high. But again, now yesterday, we've had quite a bearish day, reaching down, creating new internal lower lows. The previous weekly low, again, was only able to do a temporary pullback. And at the moment, we still have some bearish momentum. As I had mentioned in my older videos too, we had more downside available. We did not mitigate this area like we did on EU, so it is still a target and a draw on price for DXY. So price may ultimately be heading for this area, though that may be a while away. We'll see. We'll see how it reacts to the previous daily low, this previous low here, to see if that's enough to sponsor its bullish move. However, we should be aware that this may be a draw on price. Now we had our SMC divergence here, with a high low on EU, high high on DXY, which has sponsored that weakness on DXY to now go and create that new low low, as well as the fact that it's swept liquidity up here. Now on the 1 hour, we'll see everything we just discussed on the 4 hour a bit more clearly. We can see this sort of consolidating range here. We can see we're still within this bullish 1 hour leg. Price now has internally created this high low, high high here where it spiked above these previous highs. We've even got high low here, high high, possible high low and higher high being formed now, right? So our recent 1 hour trend is creating high highs, high lows and possible new high highs. So it's giving us some sort of confluence that we may go out and take this high and be continuing a bullish trend on EU, at least for the time being. We mitigated our 1 hour POI here from that pullback into overnight and this morning after this massive news wick here, or news candle here. We did the same on DXY. We now created a lower low, possible lower high, looking like it's going to create a new lower low after taking that buy side liquidity up here. We still have these 1 hour POIs in a premium on DXY and discount on EU. We may fill those at a later date. It may be after we take the buy side liquidity up here or up here, and we may come down to a better premium to continue that trend. We don't know, it may happen at news. But just to be aware that these POIs are still here. So I think the 1 hour current trend is obvious, right? We can see the structure very clear. We can also see that previous weekly high buy side liquidity and previous weekly low sell side liquidity was only enough to sponsor this temporary pullback at the moment, mitigate the 1 hour POIs that we have, and the trend looks to be continuing. So let's go down to the M15 and see what opportunities are available for today. Now, before we continue and discuss opportunities, of course, I want to make obvious that we have red folder news today, Fed Chair Powell and JOLTS job openings. Now, of course, as I said yesterday, when it comes to the New York session especially, you may see price consolidate and not really do much, build up liquidity until these announcements, which are like time-based manipulation. And we'll see that there'll be manipulation around that time where it's going to quickly take liquidity and move. So you may not actually get any decent entry once we get into New York session. So my priority is, of course, the London session and what it looks like after news. News isn't an enemy, just provides volatility for us, right? So to the M15, you can see, of course, that high, 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 low, high, high structure order flow is still present and still clear. The most immediate opportunities that I would see is for us to take this buy side liquidity above this previous daily high. Now, if we do that, we can take that buy side liquidity, we can form some sort of structure, possibly then sweep the high of that structure again, like an internal buy side liquidity sweep, and break down. Then we get our high probability entry and pull back to our POI to continue on the side of the liquidity down to a discount, down towards some sell side liquidity and buy side liquidity, which is what price does, right? It moves from liquidity point to liquidity point. So it may look something like this. It would be great if it swept this high again before breaking down, some sort of manipulation to take out the early sellers. If it doesn't, let's say we go through this and we have some structure here already on the M5 or something like that, and it just sweeps that liquidity, breaks down internally and pulls back, then it's the same thing, right? If it just swept and broke down, that also would be fine. And then we could pull back to our area and continue. So it's the same thing, just it would look slightly better if we did something like this first. So that's my main objective right now in London. For buys, I don't see any buys immediately, of course. There's no scenario that I can see on this time frame. It would have had to have been down here, but obviously that's during Asia. So of course, if price then does take this buy side liquidity and we come back down to some sort of discount, of course the next best sell side liquidity area is the previous daily lows, and we may see the same thing. Sweep of this internal liquidity again, break of structure, pull back to that area to continue with our possible trend and where liquidity would go. Of course, just to point out on DXY, if we go to our previous daily high here, we will probably go to our previous daily low here. That will take sell side liquidity and sponsor our bullish move up. So these two would be very much in sync. And if it doesn't take its previous daily low and creates a higher low, then it's the same thing. If we sweep our buy side liquidity and this makes a higher low, it's SMC divergence, which means a strong DXY. And that is the same thing. It's the same type of confluence, right? So that does look like a good, most immediate move we could have here in London. Of course, just to go back to the buys, the same thing down here in a discount once we get to this POI. Go into the POI, create structure, break structure, pull back, continue higher. We need to see this POI hold and structure shift to say that, okay, price is ready to move back higher if it is. That would, of course, by then, price would be well up within this area, within its own POI on DXY, and we could see the same sort of move being sponsored to go back down, right? Back into this area where I said we've got more downside available. So I hope you took value from that. I hope it was clear. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.